Welcome to the San Jose Hockey Now podcast. I'm Sheng Peng, editor-in-chief of San Jose Hockey Now. You can also find my work at NBC Sharks and on Twitter at Sheng_Peng.
And I'm Keegan McNally. You can find me on Twitter at halfwall_hockey, at my website, half-wallhockey.com, or at San Jose Hockey Now. I'm getting better at saying that all at one time.
We have a special guest today. We have Luke Kunin. Luke Kunin joins us. Luke talks about getting that news when he was 12 that he had type 1 diabetes and how it changed his life when there was an NHLer who also had type 1 diabetes call him when he was 12 and tell him, hey, you could play through this. And obviously Luke has played through this. Luke talks about, he has a new, it's called the Luke Kunin T1D Fun merchandise collection. It's a apparel line, caps, sweaters, all of 50% of the money goes toward his foundation for his type 1 diabetes foundation, something that Luke is very passionate about. So he talks about that. Also, too, we talk about how much of the criticism that he listens to when he isn't scoring, because, of course, if you guys remember, Luke wasn't scoring early in the season. Of course, he picked it up right before his injury. And we talk about the fate of the Sharks' win song, SkeeYee.
It's a fun interview. You guys should check it out at the end of the episode. We have a couple of topics to talk about this week. I'm going to just touch on them briefly and we'll get into each one, but Sharks are good is the first one. That's our first topic. Sharks are good. Second topic.
Sharks are good?
Good? Question mark? Exclamation point? We're going to talk a little bit about the Ferraro trade talk. It's going to be just like a little bit of a teaser about that. We might have a longer episode on that in the future. And then a little bit about the World Junior Championship 2024 preliminary rosters that got released involving many of Sharks prospects.
And not involving a few of them.
And not involving one or two or probably two that should be on the rosters. So we'll talk about that in just a bit. But before we get into all that, I am wearing a Sharks jersey this week. Sharks are good and I'm happy. It was, I think watching those two games have made me happier than I don't know. Like it's been a while since watching a Sharks game has made me that happy, and they were great.
Who's on this? Who's on a jersey? Is that anybody?
Oh no, it's just an empty one.
Oh,
it's
okay.
just a blank one.
You know that one actually looks good blank. I'm not sure why. I think that some of them don't look good blank, but that one actually does for some reason. But
yeah, it was on sale. I don't remember when, maybe a year ago, and it was like really cheap. And I was like, you know what? Screw it, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Like it.
Well, $40.
I don't remember. Maybe 50.
It looks good. It looks good. Yeah. It looks good.
I still think
the reverse retro, they still should have gone with the gray heritage version. That was just such a slam dunk to go with the gray old school jersey. Same logo. Instead, they went with the Nike swoosh thing the first year that no one likes, but anyway, the last couple of games, it's been I'm back in San Francisco, so I will not be at the Vegas game. Hopefully I don't miss anything amazing in the Vegas game, but I was there at Detroit and I was there at Long Island to watch that's just who would have thought with the Sharks team that you'd be saying, well, don't count these guys out.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, even watching the game while it happened, we're down 4-1 with the Islanders, and you're just like, nah, it's over. I'm like watching it to the corner of my eye, it's over. And like all of a sudden, it's like a little bit, it's like snowballing down the hill, and you're like, this is not the same team that it was 3 weeks ago.
I will say that I learned my lesson the game before because that was the Rangers game, and they were down 6-3 with about 7 minutes to go, and I literally stopped watching the ice. I was finishing my story. I was thinking about what questions I was going to ask about all the defensive breakdowns and that sort of thing, which I still asked anyway. But I was a bit more focused on that, right? And then I look up and it's 6-4, and then I look up again and it's 6-5.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting because we haven't seen. That's the first time this year I think the Sharks have had any kind of comeback, like down a couple goals. We've assumed all year that anytime the Sharks got down by 2 goals, that the game was over.
Yeah, it's over. There's no point.
Yeah, because they've averaged like before that about like 1.5 goals or something silly, right? So that game, the Rangers game, kind of gave me. I was paying a little bit more attention when it was 4-1 Islanders. I hadn't completely checked out yet.
Yeah.
And I definitely wasn't checked out the Detroit game because we saw what Sharks have in them, somewhere in them, which is a pretty amazing. And yeah, amazing scene in the locker room after both games, just kind of the joy, the relief. I think one of the things that I think you can say is that the Sharks are playing without any pressure. Early in the season, you want to get off to a good start so bad. After last season's poor start, you're playing against some top teams. You're missing players. You really want to. You don't want to be behind the playoff 8-ball or whatever, right?
Sure.
After the first month, and the Sharks reacted in the worst possible way by losing every single game in the month. But since then, though, they. Playing without pressure, I think is not wrong. I don't think they're expecting themselves to necessarily make it back in the playoffs. Of course, they're going to try, but they're just going to just let it out there, and they have been doing that, and it's been a lot of fun. And I do have a very good clip of Hertl singing "Viva Las Vegas" that I may or may not release. So
yes, we need it. The people need it. Playing without, I like that. Playing without pressure. It feels like a team that also, we're going to talk about it on this first part of this, but guys that are kind of filling into their roles, like they're taking an identity of how they play and trying to make that work into a team. And we're starting to see like a little bit of like the rise of like certain players up the roster who are really taking that identity to heart. And we'll talk a little bit about it, but I'm just happy. Like it makes me happy watching Hertl be happy and be like the leader of this team that we know he could be, and be the best player on the team. And then guys like Zetterlund and Granlund and Eklund, all the Linds, being really just filling out this roster, which is interesting. After the first month where we all thought that there was no depth offensively or defensively, we have now like some reasonable lines put together.
Yeah, Mike's plan looks like it is starting to kind of work out. What Mike saw in these players over the summer when he acquired them, Granlund, Duclair, to a lesser degree, Hoffman, who's been a little up and down, though. Obviously, Mike Hoffman had a good goal scoring run there for a little bit there.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I want to start first with Hertl, though. And you're right. Hertl, he looks like a different player to me. And it's not just because of the points. But one thing that I noticed, I don't know if you see the same thing, but last year, one of the things that I had concerned watching with Hertl was that he wasn't beating his man one-on-one as much as I was accustomed to. In past years, it was almost a given that he was going to beat that first guy with a one-on-one move, whether it be in a neutral zone or in a tight spot, in a up high in offensive zone or down low. You just kind of assume that he was going to take that first guy and beat him, and he was not beating those guys as consistently last year. I think actually that it's something that was even tracked by Sport Logic, that his dekes. They track dekes, and successful dekes was lower than in past years. Whereas like a guy like, for example, for the Sharks last year, Timo Meier was just absolutely murdering people in that statistic last year. So Hertl looked like, and so with that dropping off, you wondered if it was because was he slower, was he older, et cetera, right? Whereas this year, and I haven't dug into the numbers yet with Sport Logic, but I will probably around mid-season. But I feel like he's consistently beating that first man, like at all times. It's almost like a second thought, kind of like he was a couple of years ago when he was an all-star, or 3-4 years ago when he had his, I think, career season on the 2018-19 Sharks. He looks roughly about that guy, and it's really great to see. Besides, obviously, it helps with it helps him produce more, and he's in a better mood after the games, because that's one of the secret tragedies of the Sharks' decline over the last 5 years, that they've turned Tomas Hertl into a joyless man. So.
Yeah, it's a nightmare of fun must be always, and this is dream to be that sad.
Like that should have been Tomas Hertl for the last 5 years.
I know.
Should have been somewhere where fun could indeed be always. And
always.
He hasn't been, right. And so we've gotten a different Tomas Hertl. But it is also a more maybe mature Tomas Hertl. One thing that was, emphasized yesterday was just sort of the leadership role that he's taken with Couture out. Actually, Nico Sturm went out of the way to mention. I actually didn't. I asked Nico about sort of Fabian Zetterlund said that after Tomas Hertl scored that first goal against the Red Wings to make it 4-1, Fabian was like, "Yeah, I knew we were going to come back." And I asked Nico that. Nico's like, I don't know if I thought that, but it wasn't looking good for us. But he went on his way to talk about in the absence of Couture how Tomas has stepped up as a leader. And I think last year there were some question marks in terms of Tomas's body language as the Sharks were losing, just his frustration, not body language like blaming his teammates, that kind of stuff, but more just frustration that he missed some chance, some open net or whatever, right? And he was not happy last year, obviously, as he should not have been with the losing, but it was kind of spilling over that you could see that he was unhappy. And even though it wasn't directed at his teammates, because he's never been a bad teammate that way, but your teammates see that though, and they take that leadership kind of that leadership cue, like, oh, okay, if Hertl can mope around like this, making $8 million a year, well, I guess I can mope around a little bit too, maybe. But you don't want that though, and he's been doing a much better job with that. And maybe it's been, in some ways, it's been good for him that Logan's been out so long, because it forces him to kind of step up and be more of the, a guy like Couture as a leader is more of a acts the same, treats every play the same, all out all the time, right? Not caught up in every single play a mistake, not wearing his emotions on his sleeve if he makes a mistake, right? And that's one thing that Couture is good at, that he leads by example that way, right? Like Logan may never be the fiery whatever, or even the maybe even the inspirational leader that people think Joe Pavelski is, right? He may never reach that, and that's fine. You can still be a good leader in your own way, right? And I think that's what Logan excels at, because Logan just plays the same way all the time. Down 3 goals, up 3 goals. He plays the same way, and he's a model player. I think you want all your players to play like a Logan Couture, and that's great. That's great. That's a great example in terms of leadership for everybody else. And I think in the case of Hertl here, without Couture around, that I think he's done a little bit of that, and not worried about taking it all on himself, just kind of playing his game, relaxing a bit, and also just making sure that he keeps setting a positive example for the guys around him. And so anyway, I think it's really nice to see this with him, because I think that David Quinn said yesterday that this is the best that he's seen out of Hertl the last couple of years. I think we can agree, and it's nice to see it.
Yeah, I think the messaging helps a lot for Hertl, because you're right, if he's so tied into the team winning, he's going to take a lot on himself because he's an emotional guy.
Right.
But as long as the message is play for pride, play for, not have fun, but play for that you actually want to be out there on the ice, and not to just all the pressure to make the playoffs or all the pressures to win. It's helping a little bit, it looks like. And also stepping up into that role where, he has to, he's not babysitting younger guys, but he's playing with some younger guys like Eklund, and it's really good to see, because Hertl, I think we're kind of forgetting, in this whole rebuilds thing, what is Hertl's role going to be? Is Hertl going to be here in the duration of his contract, like he signed for, right? Or is he going to be traded away in a couple of years? Is he going to be, our second whatever line center in the future, and hope that somebody else comes in and really sets this team on fire? And so I'm hopeful, because of the way he's playing, that he's going to be part of the Sharks in the future when they are good, when they are competing for the playoffs, because I love Tomas Hertl. So it's good to see him play like this.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that we will see him with the Sharks still. I mean, we see the example with the Kings, right? Obviously, Drew Doughty and Andrei Kopitar, and they're still clicking. They're still very good players.
Yeah.
And so you're hoping that Hertl can be that in a couple of years. Even the Couture, if you still have him, maybe he'll still be maybe not the Couture that we know now, but still be a valid, very useful NHL player. I can see it. And so maybe we'll have to see about that. But anyway, it's just fun to see Hertl. I mean, what do you think about how he's looked? Does he kind of remind you of just Tomas Hertl? Right? Because last year he didn't look like Tomas Hertl.
Not at all.
Right?
He looked slow,
Yeah,
and there was times in the very beginning of the season when I thought maybe he looked a little bit slow.
right.
But whatever they gave him to get, for that kidney stone, got him all juiced up there. No, I'm kidding. But he does. He looks like he belongs in a first line. Like he looks like a first line hockey player and a first line, like a good first line center
Yeah.
at the
It
time
was
being.
easier to take the puck off of him last year. I mean, he still was
Yes.
big and strong, and so it wasn't like it was like easy to take the puck off of him, but it definitely was easier last year.
Yeah, now he's
Whereas
got
this
that
year,
competitive like fire. He looks faster. He can beat
yeah,
his man one on one. His wrist shot's always been good, and it's shown off a couple of times just how good it was.
right,
And yeah, it's just exciting to see. But he does look good. I wonder
yeah.
if there's anything else specifically than just his mindset changing. We should maybe dig into it a little bit. But
Well, we did when we talked with Tomas in the off season. He suggested that he had slimmed down a little bit, and there was a
sure,
concentration on that in terms of in terms of
yeah,
in terms of
getting a little faster maybe.
yeah, get a little faster, right? It's his skating, right? And so yeah, I think I think that could have helped for sure. But I think the mindset too. He talked about just putting less pressure on himself,
Hmm.
and not that just relax and have fun when you're losing a bunch of games, but just don't take it all upon yourself.
Yep.
And I think that he has done a pretty good job of it. And I think we talk about let's move on and talk about Greer's plan, right? And Mikhail Granlund, right? And
Yeah,
I think going back to Hertl was part of that plan too, that we would see the comeback of this version of Tomas Hertl, which we have seen, right? And then Mikhail
sure.
Granlund was brought in, and we heard the talk in the preseason how good he was and that sort of thing, right? And I think that you and I both thought that he was going to have a very strong season for the Sharks and be that guy
Okay.
from a couple of years ago that scored 64 points for the Predators, and then he wasn't. He got hurt the second shift of the first game. He of course had a kind of a nagging injury throughout the preseason, so he wasn't able to play a lot in the preseason. And then when he came back from his injury, he wasn't very good
Yeah,
to be
didn't look great.
honest. Yeah, so I think through 8 games he had 1 assist, and he's been on absolute fire.
Yeah.
Just won the NHL PA Player of the Week. And what I see out of Mikhail is he's doing a lot of same stuff that he was trying the first 8 games of the season, just working now.
Yeah.
He's an interesting mix of a player that is a really sound, smart defensive player.
Mhm.
David Quinn talks about he's always in the right place, he's always above the puck, right? But he takes a
Yeah.
lot of chances with the puck too when he's got it on his stick. He tries to make plays as if he were Eric Carlson. And let's not forget, Granlund was a 9th overall pick, not um,
Got
10 years
legit
ago. He was a
skill.
highly touted
Yeah.
prospect. I think a lot of people thought actually he's going to be a point per game guy. He was very, very highly touted. I remember.
Sure.
And even though he may have not lived quite up to that, he is a really, really good player, and he can make really special plays, just like we saw in the Vancouver game, right? The ESPN goal, right?
Mhm.
And so he was trying those things early in the season. It just was constantly getting shut down, and he just looked a step slower, and he was he just his dipsy doodles weren't working.
Yeah.
The feet weren't quite there. But now he says that he feels totally healthy, and we've seen that the last I think the last 7 games he has 12 points or something like that.
Yeah, it's is it 12 points
I think
or
it's
anyway, it's something close to that.
yeah.
Above a point a game, far above. And he yeah, he looks like a totally different player. He looks like the guy that the Penguins spent a second to get
Mhm.
originally.
I mean, he looks better than that. I think if he was doing this for the
Yeah.
Penguins.
No, I meant like he even looks better than when he did when they
Yeah.
traded for him. So like he just, and that's like the kind of guy that actually has value. Like if like not just to because at the beginning it looked like this is like $5 million per 2 year.
Yeah, it's
Like
going to be
dump.
an anchor for the next couple of years, right?
Yeah. Like there's no saving the ship. And then he's said, yeah, no, there's plenty here to save. He's looked
You can
great.
say you can trade this Mikhail Granlund right now,
Yeah.
at even with a year left, because when the Sharks acquired him, I had the presumption that maybe this year will be a little tough because I didn't know that we would get quite this Mikael Granlund. And let me look at the number. I want to make sure because I think it was right. Josh Vergelen wrote an article for me about Granlund. That came out today at San Jose Hockey Now, and so he did the math, and it is indeed 12 points in the last 7 games, 3 goals and 9 assists.
Yeah,
so that's since that Vancouver game. So yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he is surprised for sure because he looked a little out of place, and then they kept using him on like that point position on the power play early in the season, and all of it just didn't make any sense.
Can I make an argument for that though? That you can see what they were thinking now though. With Mikael playing at such a high level, you see the 6-on-5, right? The last couple of games, the 6-on-5 goals. And Mikael's been great on there. Actually, the Tomas Hertl game tying goal yesterday, David Quinn directly credited Granlund and also goalie coach Thomas Spear. So the pre-scout for Little Caesars Arena is that the boards are really lively. And Spear
such
mentioned
a good
that,
play,
right?
Oh
And Quinn said that Granlund he knows that, and so he just fired it against the boards. He went for the rebound that for Hertl to slam in, and it worked to a T. And so
and I think he had like a little fist bump afterward. I think he did. And
he did. I didn't see that. I did it. I knew it.
He's like, that was the one. And it was such a good play. Like it was very, very smart. And yeah, you're right. Like he can make that kind of heads up play when he is playing well. That he's smart on the point, and I could see why they did it. Just in the beginning, it didn't
make
work.
sense because he wasn't mobile. I guess he wasn't as mobile as he is, as he has been. I think that's a big part of it. So now he's got a little more of that elusiveness that he was missing at the beginning of the season. And so I wouldn't surprise me actually if they went back to it at some point, because if this is the Granlund that you're getting, then this Granlund can I think can run a point. I mean, we saw in that Islanders game when they went 6-on-5, and it was a little bit, where's Addison? And we realized, they've actually benched Addison for the last 10 minutes of that game. And yesterday, though, Addison was in the game, and they still went with the 6-on-5 that worked against the Islanders, and it worked against the Red Wings. And Granlund looks perfectly comfortable up top, at least the last couple of games. I know it's a different situation. It's 6-on-5, not 5-on-4, and maybe there's different urgency when you're down a goal. There's maybe a little more, like I said, a little more pep in your step or whatever. But he has looked good there. So I'm just saying I wouldn't put it past the Sharks to try him out there. But in terms of just Granlund's value, though, we didn't. I think we meant to get to this. We didn't get to it last week in terms of Boston, and Boston needs a center, right? I mean, for this Granlund, for this version of Mikael Granlund, $5 million a year is a bargain. Now, I'm not saying he's going to score. I mean, you'd 12 points. You just want NHL Player of the Week. That's Connor McDavid stuff. And so we're not counting on Granlund to be this good for the rest of the season. But if this is a high though, and it's there, then at $5 million a year, that's a bargain.
Yeah, and maybe they take back like a younger guy, like who's making a little bit too much right now, like Jake DeBrusk, and he's also, I think, a Boston guy. Kind of makes a little sense.
Grease the wheels a little there, right? So
yeah, and take some, pick prospect, that kind of stuff, and I'm down for it. I think Granlund's playing great, and I don't think he would be. He's not your first line center, but if he's your middle six center, you're doing pretty well, I think. At this version, at least.
One of the things I've loved about Granlund too, and again, we saw pieces of it when he was struggling during the season, but he always sticks his nose in there for a guy that as small as he is, right? I think a guy like if William Eklund can learn from Granlund's tenacity, or any of the Sharks smaller prospects, be it Bordelot or Gushin or whatever, a guy like Granlund is sort of the model for that, at least at the forward position, of being a smaller guy that sticks his nose in there and actually does pretty well in battles. He's not routine to beat Granlund on battles just because he's a small guy. He's strong. And so we saw that, I think, at the end, I think Quinn also pointed out at the end of the game, yesterday's game against Detroit. And I'm not sure who had it, but someone looked like he was on the way to empty net goal. and Granlund just fights him all the way down and make sure that player doesn't get a good shot on goal, and the Sharks turn it around, and eventually they score and tie the game. And so Granlund is not just we talk about the points, and that's why he won Player of the Week, but Granlund at what we're seeing now is more than the points. I mean, this specific Granlund is a first line center, but I'm not saying he can stay that way. But if your second line center has can give you a week like this, and then his lows aren't too low, then you have a very good second line center then, right? And so that's well worth $5 million. And so I think for Granlund, we'll see if he can keep up. Not exactly this again. No one is expecting to keep up this pace, but just keep playing good hockey and stay healthy. And if he does that, then very tradable. Or if you want to look at him as just staying with the Sharks, and hopefully Couture gets healthy, right? We talked about this early in the season, right? And now I'm bringing them back because now they're looking good. I'm not burying it anymore. Our preseason predictions aren't our bold predictions aren't looking so ugly anymore.
Yeah, they're not too bad. I mean, for a minute there, Duclair was tied for the lead in goals.
He still he had one on his stick yesterday. I'm not sure what happened. Ferraro set him up with a great pass, and he just healed it. The pass looked like it was there, and that's something that he scored a million times. He just has to laser it in, and the goalie was frozen on Ferraro, so he had a goal right on his stick there, and so he may well be the leading scorer yet.
Yeah. So we doing okay, I think.
All of a sudden, right? Yeah. Look at us.
Look at us. We got this. Emberson is sticking in the lineup except for the injury bit. Yeah,
except for the injury bit.
Yeah. So we're getting there.
Emberson actually. I didn't plan to talk about him, but they've been very happy with him. They Well, we're gonna talk about Ferraro in a little bit, and so I'll save the Emberson bit for Ferraro. So so I think it's relevant there. So
we mentioned Hertl, Granlund. We should mention a little bit about Zetterlund, who is the team leader in goals, right? Is it still him, or did Hertl catch him?
I think they're tied. I think they're tied.
They're tied now. Yeah.
And they're tied with a not embarrassing number. Early season, it was
it's not one.
It was like, hey, but Fabian Zetterlund leads the Sharks with 4 goals after 18 games.
I love that. No, he has 8 goals now, which is not terrible. And Hertl has 9. So Hertl's
taking the lead. Okay.
Yeah.
But 9. Okay.
Yeah, but Zetterlund has looked good. He's continued to shine in key moments, and I love we've already mentioned, I think, on the last podcast about his comeback and not writing him off too early, but he's continuing it, scoring big goals, playing physical, looks good.
Yeah, I thought this too, and I don't want to say it because it's unfair to Fabian, but he was doing Timo Meier things yesterday in that overtime. Wouldn't that be a play where someone would try to take down Timo? And when Timo at his best, I compare it to like a running back, like a strong, bullish running, not one of those like scat backs, but like, I don't know, like Ezekiel Elliott, when Ezekiel Elliott was in his prime kind of guy, just this strong bull-like guy that you can't take down.
Derrick Henry.
Something like that, and that to me was, I think Timo at his best with the Sharks was a version of that. And again, I don't want to put that on Zetterlund. He's not going to be that guy. I don't think that's fair to expect out of him. But he does some of the same things though. And that play in overtime where I think it was Larkin just trying to hang on him, and Larkin just couldn't. And Carl Larkin's a big dude too. This isn't I don't know. This isn't like a Torrey Krug trying to stick on you. This is Larkin's a big guy. Zetterlund just shook him like nothing.
Bounced
off, and then made a sweet pass to Granlund to finish off the Red Wings.
Yeah, I love Zetterlund too. All the Lunds, man, all the Lins, Lunds. But you're right. It makes that trade just even sweeter. We got Musty doing well. We have Zetterlund doing well. Mukabadulin doing well in the AHL. Another pick coming. I'm just happy. It was Hotiuk's been playing in the lineup.
Yeah, New Jersey just needs to cooperate. New Jersey needs to cooperate and get themselves together. So the Sharks can get a first round pick.
Come on, guys. Yeah. Or just do terrible enough that their second round pick is really, really early, and then it's kind of similar.
Good point. That's fair. Yeah.
So really bad or really good, either one. New Jersey. Pick a lane, New Jersey is what we're saying. All right, Larry. Last Lind is our Swedish
Lund.
our Lund, our
Granlund.
Swedish savior William Eklund. Eklund has looked like a top 6 forward, and I think I made a tweet that was like basically the transformation of watching Eklund from his draft year all the way through Sweden, through the AHL, and now in the NHL, like transform from a undersized playmaking winger who is not physical enough into what he is now. It's just like a slow progression, but it feels really good. It's like a natural fit for him, and he's gonna have ups and downs. It's like any player that's that young, but he's looked really good in the past few games. He's looked like a top 6 forward, which is what you want from him right now.
I think that I think he's gotten up to the point where he is a top 6 forward on a not so good team. So I think I still have a caveat there. Like, I don't think the game is as there as let's say a Granlund or Hertl, right? But
for sure.
But he's been very good though. He's been much better the last couple of games, and a couple of plays that I wrote about. Of course, I wrote about the Rangers, and he wasn't quite as good on the Will Cooley goal. And I pointed that out. But David Quinn corrected me the next day and said he thought that was one of Eklund's better games overall, even though he wasn't good on the Cooley goal. I think we all agree on that.
Sure.
And that's a learning lesson for him. If you read the article, I wasn't killing William about it. Just that's just something else that he's got to learn. As the Sharks are trying to learn how to play winning hockey, especially the younger Sharks. But then the very next game against the Islanders, and I did a little story about that, just Eklund's work on the tying goal. I think if you could say all the Sharks contributed on that, but the main guy I look at though was Eklund there. Eklund on the forecheck, Eklund on puck retrievals, quick on the puck, strong on the puck when he gets, and also decisive too. Shoulder checks, knows where he's going to go with the puck before he gets there, and so those kind of little things. And so it was great to see, not just everyone's always going to look at the skill stuff and think about the skill stuff first, William Eklund, but it's the little details though that are going to keep him in the NHL. And just like I said, that forecheck on, I think it was Scott Mayfield that kept the puck in. And Zetterlund was able to squeeze the puck along the wall, right? Those are the little plays that are just wow. That's a 21-year-old that's learning to play winning hockey.
I do want to talk about the skill plays.
I'll let you do that. So I'm about the details. So
no, the details.
You're about the long ball. You're all about the long ball. So that's good.
Yeah, going for the long ball. But no, it's once the details start working themselves out, players like Eklund who have the skill level can use it, and they can show off on a regular basis in terms of what they can do. And like the pass that he had across, froze the goaltender,
froze the goalie. Yep. Got it right fantastic. Under. I think it's Romanov's stick was reaching there, trying to block it. Its pass was perfectly placed where Hertl could handle it. Yeah.
And then that's what I mentioned before, where he was when Eklund was drafted in Sweden, he was so passive with how he attacked the net that it was painfully obvious when you watch him. You're like, God, this guy just keeps circling. He avoids the net almost. And then the winning goal in overtime, it's he's getting that puck and he's hammered it. He's shooting it immediately. Or there's no thought in his mind. He's just boom, boom. I mean, and they were at the end of the overtime anyway, but they were at the end of the overtime.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It was maybe
10 seconds, 15
left,
seconds.
10 seconds left. I want to give Granlund credit on that pass though. If I can interrupt your Eklund love fest with more Granlund.
Sure.
You look at that pass. Granlund put that pass in. That pass was there was it's like if there's a spot on the ice that is marked, and it's marked for the exact moment that Eklund's going to pass it, and the puck has to be perfectly there, or Eklund can't get the full velocity behind the one timer, and the defensive stick was pretty much right there too. So the pass had to be right in that spot with that. It basically had to be a perfectly placed pass. perfectly placed pass for Eklund to get to it, because if it was too hard, Eklund would miss it. If it was too soft, the defense would have caught up to it.
Poked it out.
It just was in the perfect pocket.
And it seems so like
yeah.
innocuous. Like you look at it, it seems almost like a mistake, but it's not. It's like a very, very specific pass. It
was amazing. Yeah, I mean that play. Not to take credit away from the younger player, but that pass was to me the kind of the most the highest skill play there, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the hammering of the shot in is like.
But no, I love that too, because that's something that we've talked about multiple times on this episode. That's not a tool that Eklund had when he joined the Sharks a couple of years ago, and it is actually. I mean, I think his goals, like I think four of them are off the one timer or something. There's
something like that.
Disproportionate number of goals are off the one timer for him. So
but you could kind of feel when he was shooting that puck that it was going to go in, and like he had that confidence too, where he just like I don't know. It's fun to see, because he used to be a very passive player, and he's kind of turned it into a very net forward, net focused kind of player, trying to get all of his like high danger chances towards the middle of the ice rather than trying to create off the perimeter. So I enjoy it, and it's not like, again, we're not saying that William Eklund is Connor McDavid or whatever. It's just a good progression for William. So
he may not be the savior of the Sharks, but he is the savior of hearts, right? So of your heart,
exactly.
Other Sharks fans.
He makes me really happy, as you want some of these draft picks to start working out in meaningful ways for the Sharks, and it doesn't get more meaningful than setting up the game tying goal and then the winning goal and in overtime. So.
And yeah, I mean, it goes into the larger conversation. I know that there is some people consternation. Oh, the Sharks are now not the worst team in the league. Now that Chicago is in the front, the driver's seat for
Tankathon.
And Tankathon, Celebrini, all that stuff, right? But I mean, again, I mean, isn't this good you want Eklund, obviously, as a younger player to develop? Do you really want to see Hertl miserable for the last few seasons and struggling like he was last year for the next? If Hertl is struggling and miserable in the next, also, if you look at it in the big picture, if Hertl is struggling and miserable like he was last year, that contract is unmovable. This version of Tomas Hertl, and especially if you can keep it up a couple more years, maybe you can move him in a couple of years. Granlund, this version of Granlund is very, very movable, obviously. The version of Granlund that we saw at the beginning of the season, totally unmovable. Just like the Granlund in Pittsburgh, right, was unmovable, so he became a cap dump. So the Penguins could take on Erik Karlsson. But obviously, I mean, of those three guys that have been acquired, Granlund, Hoffman, and Ruda. Hoffman's been up and down, but consistency hasn't been there. Ruda's been okay, right? And of course, Ruda's role is a little bit different as a shutdown kind of guy. He's not going to make as many headlines, but Granlund, I think, has. I would say this stretch, on the balance, he has been what I kind of expected in terms of just if you look at the points. I think he has like 16 and 20, which is pretty good, and so that kind of matches again. A couple years ago with Nashville, he had 64, so I thought that he would put up a 50-point-ish season, that sort of thing. He looks like he's on the way to that, but this specific Granlund that we've gotten for the last month, this is beyond my expectations, and and so if you can get that for a cap dump, that's I mean, that's I mean, if you convert a Granlund into let's say another second rounder or something, which I don't think is impossible with the way he's playing, all of a sudden the Karlsson deal is looking a little bit better in terms of just what you got back. You got back a first round pick, but you got to take on these contracts. But you turn one of these contracts into a high pick. It doesn't look like it's gonna be Hoffman. It doesn't look like it's gonna be a Ruda, but maybe it's gonna be Granlund. So
yeah, I think at the end of the day, as long as you accept in your heart that Chicago's winning the lottery anyways, and then it won't matter, then it doesn't matter. If we get third or fourth or first, like last, it doesn't matter. Chicago's winning it anyway. So
I guess I'm trying to think about it, but I think every player on the Sharks, if they do well, even if it hurts you in the standings a little bit, there's good that can come out of it in terms of, if Hoffman performs, you can get you can get better
Sure.
exchange for him. Duclair performs, same thing. Granlund, right?
Blackwood, sure.
Blackwood,
Kakkonen.
Hertl, right? There's nobody on the Sharks where I think, oh man, he's doing well. Oh, that's miserable, terrible for the Sharks,
Yeah.
I
mean, and I honestly, I
yeah.
think we're riding on like a little bit of a high in the Sharks, and I think they are
Oh,
still
for
going to
sure,
lose
for
a
sure.
lot of games.
Oh yeah, for
So,
sure. No, I'm with you there. I'm not saying that
yeah,
they're gonna march their way back in the playoffs here.
sure.
But I guess what I'm saying is that like you want these guys to play pretty well. I'm even the young guys lesser less like players who aren't as well known. I got and someone pointed this out that I've been saying his name wrong, and I think I mentioned that I've been saying that I thought I had it right, so that's why I keep saying Hotiak, because I thought that was what it was, and I keep saying it. So I gotta learn the other way, which I will learn. But anyway, a guy like that, right? If that guy becomes a real player, he's young. That's going to help the Sharks in the long run too. So, I don't know. So this overall is, if you look at it, if you're able to even everyone, I guess people will say, oh, focusing on the number one pick is the big picture, but that's not the only big picture here, though.
Yeah.
So
There's a bunch of young guys that are under
Yeah.
24 that are still going to be around for a couple of years. So, or many years, possibly, depending on how they do. So
Yeah.
this is kind of like the trial period for a bunch of different reasons, a bunch of different players.
And if you look at it in another way too, with the veterans too, like, okay, let's say you did miss out on the number one pick, right? You get, let's say, the number 3 or something like that, right? But now you have a higher picks back for a Granlund or a Duclair, right? Because they actually have had value, right? Then sort of like, okay, then we missed out on number one, but now we have the third pick and second and a third rounder or something like that. I'm just giving so the net gain, I guess, from all this can still be a good thing, even if you don't get the actual number one pick.
Yeah, it's all just lottery chances anyways. Like even if they're fourth, fifth, it's still a chance. It's less chance, and obviously, like, we just went through this whole last year where they went and got fourth, and we wanted them to get in the top 3 because of who are all playing in the NHL in the top 3 right now. But this is a long-term process, and we could be laughing in 4 years when Will Smith is just as good as those dudes. Who knows? But like, I don't know. I am torn because I am obviously a draft guy. I'm a development prospect kind of guy, but I can't turn away from watching these Sharks and being happy for them. So I don't know. I'm not going to care about it. And Chicago's good with the lottery anyways. That's how I'm rationalizing it. They're going to win it. So it doesn't matter what they do right now. The Sharks, as long as they get in the top or the bottom 10 in the end of the year, it's fine. I don't care what they do. As long as there's a chance. And I could just say, oh, well, Chicago's winning it anyway. But that's how I'll rationalize it. Speaking of young guys on the Sharks that I've lost this segue, may or may not be here. There's Ferraro trade talk that has cropped up in the past week. Full disclosure, we're going to probably do a longer episode on this, is where we have like a lot of thoughts about Ferraro as a player, what he means to the Sharks, his trade value, that kind of thing. But let's at least talk about the rumor a little bit.
Yeah, it was interesting. Elliot Friedman said that Carolina made a good run at Ferraro last season. I actually asked Ferraro about that. It's in the story that I wrote. Ferraro wants to stay here. He said he had unfinished business here, and he wants to take this Sharks team back in the playoffs. If you think about it, just feel bad for Ferraro in a sense that, like, he started off just as the Sharks were declining, and he would have been a perfect Shark in the Joe Thornton era, and right, he would have been the perfect guy to just slide in there into the middle pairing, like he's one of those like Jason Demers. I'm like, oh wait, who's this guy? He's actually pretty good. And help keep the Sharks. Yeah, help keep the Sharks going for a number of years, or at least keep their success going, like guys like that did. And he just missed it. Just was bad timing because in every other way he is kind of a throwback player or whatever. Right, would have been perfect again for those that version of Sharks teams. And so we'll get to this more. I'm not. I've always I like Ferraro a lot. I like his game. I think that the fans are way too hard on him in terms of the results, because he has a lot of there's a lot of breakdowns going on ice when a goal is given up. It's not just the guy who's closest to the puck, which often is Ferraro because he's the defenseman and whatnot. But yeah, there's a lot going on, and I don't put entirely on his plate. And I really do think, and it does seem like teams think that, unless this is sort of a planted craft, planted a job by Sharks management to get Ellie to talk up Ferraro's value. But if the rest of the league, or if some people in the league think that Ferraro has value, it's because probably they see him the same way that I do. That he's in a really bad situation with the Sharks, and they don't blame him for it. And that his individual talents stand out still, even through sort of the mess that he has to deal with around him. And so anyway, I asked him about Carolina. And he said, I don't know if Burns misses me that much. But he's a guy that wants to be here, and I think that's a big part of it too. Like the Sharks in their rebuild, they will need leaders, and I think people forget that. They'll give that up for a second round pick or something like that. And I'm not saying that Ferrell's untouchable, but I think he can still be a very valuable piece of the rebuild, I guess.
And I've been hard on Ferraro a lot. Because I think there are times when it looks like Ferraro is trying to do too much, and he's basically just getting himself into trouble that he has to then get himself out of with his feet, rather than being like a little bit patient and kind of reading in the defensive zone. But I think he's been a little bit better in the past couple of weeks. Is kind of why I'm like a little less like gung ho about trading him. And also, I think the locker room stuff is a little bit underrated probably with him, just because of like how much he means to a rebuilding team. I think he would be a good mentor for younger defensive prospects in some ways, as long as he like kind of he has to kind of like form a game almost. Like he does have his own game, but his game has always kind of been fill whatever role is necessary or needed based on his defensive partner. And
just what the Sharks need, which is everything.
Yeah, whatever the Sharks need.
Which is problematic, right? Because he can't do everything.
He can't do everything.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's like a little bit of you're right, a toolsy player, even though he's 25. He's like one of those guys where you look at the tools, you recognize that they're good, but all of the game isn't all together all the time, right. Which is not a top pairing guy. So we'll talk about it next week or two whenever we get to the Ferraro Trade Talk podcast. But it's hard to kind of gauge that value for that kind of player, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and one thing that we'll talk about too, and I'm interested in what my career does with him, because if I don't know, I'll need to kind of flesh out my thoughts more about this. But if we go back to Erik Karlsson trade, right, and wondered why didn't the Sharks take on more money and retain more money to get more back for Karlsson, and it looked like the Sharks were maybe setting up to try to be more competitive sooner than later, right? To retain cap space, which made sense if that's their plan. But then in that case, then why would you trade off of Ferraro unless it's an exceptional return? Because Ferraro can help you now, and he can help you in 2 years, and his contract is reasonable. It's not like amazing, but it's reasonable. And he's obviously good in the room. I mean, he's great in the room. I don't think he's not just like he's good in the room. He's great in the room. And he is absolutely a terrific leader. But I want to actually, I remembered one story. I did a story about Ferraro a couple of years ago, talking with Greg Carvel, his coach at UMass, Dave Allison, his coach at Des Moines. Talked with Pete DeBoer. This was when Pete was in Vegas, I think, at this point, about his impression of Ferraro when Ferraro came in. Obviously, Bob Bugner, because the story was written when Bob was the coach of the Sharks, and Bob is the one who named Ferraro alternate captain a couple of years ago. So Bob really liked Ferraro. But one of the stories that Dave Allison told me that stuck with me is that so you have this is USHL. This is before the Sharks drafted him. So Ferraro's like 17. He's coming into this program at Des Moines that hadn't made the playoffs for, I think, 9 years at that point. Anyway, so they're doing practice drills, and Dave sees Ferraro always skating like skating back hard when the drill is done, like just like when he's going to the press position, like sprinting. Everybody else is just casually getting over to the line, and Ferraro's the only one sprinting. And Dave asks, "What are you doing? Like, we're not telling you to sprint here. You don't have to sprint here." And Ferraro tells him, "I'm just trying to get some extra conditioning."
Yep.
That's the kind of guy that honestly, that's what you want out of your young players, and you want that example around your young players. Whoever is going to be with the Sharks in a couple of years, on a Sharks playoff team, in a few years, however long it takes, like there's a good chance that Ferraro can have a positive impact on a William Eklund. I did a story about that early in the season. I saw in Florida, and they were practicing doing a down low kind of drill, 5-on-5 drill, and Ferraro and Eklund were going hard at each other. And at the end of it, they skate back to center ice after the drill, and Ferraro was banging on Eklund's shin with a stick, not like to hurt him, but like, just hard enough that he could hear. It was hard though, get his attention. And I asked Ferraro about it afterwards, and Ferraro's like I was telling him that he was doing fucking a good job there. Like what he did there, do that in the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, I so again, I guess maybe I'm wearing my Ferraro. I really like Ferraro.
Your Ferraro tinted glasses.
Yes, yeah, Ferraro fandom. I try not to be a fan of guys, but Ferraro's a guy that everyone you talk to, coaching staff, whatever. David Quinn said, I didn't include it in my story because it didn't fit into my most recent story about Ferraro and how he wants to stay with the Sharks. But David Quinn said, like, yeah, I don't know of too many guys I like coaching more than Ferraro.
Yeah. And that's what's honestly like there's two things, or maybe three, 4 things that have kept Ferraro in the NHL. It's like how good his work ethic is, how good he is in the room, how good his feet are, and then how much he can like get in position to block shots. I think that's kind of like what's kept Ferraro in the league.
He's also underrated strong too, and so in the corners down low, all that stuff, right? So you can use that skating to along with his strength to that advantage. So
my point is like you take that as the nucleus of what a player is, and I think if you have him in the right role, he's going to be terrific. It's just the Sharks continually will use him wrong, and
well, I don't even know if the Sharks using him wrong. It's just that they have no choice.
Yeah, so I mean,
like who is the Sharks' best defenseman right now? Like, Carl, it is Mario Ferraro, like it or not. It's not
Matt Benning.
It's not Matt Benning. It's not Shakir Mukhamadullin. It's not Jan Ruda. Whoever you named down the line, Mario Ferraro is the Sharks' #1 defenseman right now. Mario Ferraro over the last few years, whether or not he should have been or not, was the Sharks' 3rd best defenseman, probably, after Brent Burns, Erik Karlsson. And
there are examples of especially defensive defensemen coming into their own later than guys that are more offensive leaning as defenders that kind of take a little longer. And not that Ferraro is going to have like an epiphany and suddenly become a true first line player. But maybe there is some value in just keeping him because of what he could mean to a rebuilding team.
Well, again, I've said this, and I've had arguments with this with you, with people online, that I think on a good team, I think Ferraro can be a capable middle pairing defenseman, a good middle pairing defenseman for a playoff team. And if the pieces around him are right and he's not doing everybody else's job, which he wouldn't have to do on a good team. So, but anyway, we don't want to give away too much of our
it's going to be a great debate.
Yeah, because I want to dig into it. The reason why we're not having it today is that we want to look at past trades to see if guys like Ferraro and what they can bring back, and that sort of thing. And so
get some industry news or like chatter on it, maybe get some like actual opinions
exactly,
from other people besides us too.
right. I mean, I'm not saying Ferraro is untouchable by any means.
Sure.
But I look at him as I definitely do look at him at more value than I think a lot of people do. A lot of our listeners do probably, because I talk about intangible stuff, but I'm not just about it either. I think he's a very, very skilled player, not necessarily like puck skilled, but skilled in a lot of ways that again would shine on a better team.
All right, We can't reveal too much, so we'll talk about it next week, the week after. But also this week, just to round out our episode before the Kunin interview, the World Junior Championship, which is taking place in the end of December, beginning of January of this year. They released, or a couple of teams have released their preliminary rosters. So this is the rosters that need to be trimmed down. But the invites, essentially. This is Canada, USA, and Sweden have released their rosters so far. There's maybe a few other teams I haven't taken a look, but Finland, I don't believe, has released their roster. But anyways, all of this is to say is that for Team USA, the invites for the Sharks are Will Smith and Eric Pohlkamp. The invites for Team Sweden that are from the Sharks are Filip, Mattias Hävelid. Invites for Team Canada is Jake Furlong. Pretty cool. And then probably the invites for Finland will include Kasper Halttunen, but their roster is not released yet, or I haven't found it yet. Anyway, let's start with Team USA. Will Smith and Eric Pohlkamp. Will Smith is not a surprise because he was slotted to be in like the first two center positions for Team USA for this year. Good for him getting the invite. Eric Pohlkamp is a little bit of a surprise. He showed out at the World Junior Summer Showcase as a shoot-first defender who has decent feet, and he made a lot of good plays in that showcase that we highlighted actually on this podcast. And a few people mentioned that they thought he might make this team, and looks like he's on the way to at least sticking around to see if he can make it past the final cuts.
How many do they select at first?
27, 28, something like that.
Okay, and it's gonna be down to 20, right?
I think it's 21.
Okay.
Eesh, I can't remember.
Okay. Go ahead, and now you can rage about who was missed. So.
But who didn't get selected? It might be a 23-man roster. I can't remember exactly.
Okay.
But
I was curious.
Was Quentin Musty. And I don't want to do the thing where I just get mad because I'm a Sharks fan and I follow the Sharks prospects that one Sharks prospect didn't get selected, but I'm a little bit mad, and I think there's we're going to have a kind of a more preview of the World Junior Championship episode as we get closer to that time frame, or maybe during the World Junior Championship, just to recap some of their players that are playing. But yeah, Quentin Musty has looked amazing in the OHL. Like, he's looked very, very good. He's on a very good line and a good team, which helps. Playing with Dalibor Dvorsky, who's a very high pick from last year's draft. But he's got 31 points in 16 games, 2 points a game essentially in the OHL. He's had some issues with being suspended a few times for like slew footing. And I think the biggest reason why he's not invited might be that he's in the OHL. That's the easy answer, is that the USNTDP likes to pick guys from their own program, likes to pick guys from America, and guys that are playing in college rather than over in Canada. That's one reason. The other reason is I just think where and this is me, again, prefacing that I think it's dumb, but I think why they did it is because of basically how the team is constructed. Like, there is a ton of skilled players on the forward group for Team USA that I think Musty would probably be in the bottom six. And I think they were looking at their bottom six and wondering if they need another skill guy rather than somebody else who can play a more traditional bottom six role. Which is not something that's uncommon in tournament like play. Sometimes these smaller tournaments, they will specifically select dudes that fit those roles because they have to have somebody, play on the penalty kill and, play like that grinding type of game sometimes throughout a game. So I think that's what's going on with Musty, is it's a combination of the OHL, and they looked at their bottom six and thought that he wasn't going to be the guy that they wanted for it. So,
well,
and
let me
people
ask
would
you,
argue like, yeah, go ahead.
Well, Musty, is he good enough to be in the USA's top six? Is there an argument for it? Like, is it one of those things where all things equal, if he was US NTTP, that maybe he'd be in the top six? Because you're telling me that you don't see him as a bottom six guy, so that makes sense why he's not there. And sure. He's clearly a top six guy. I can't avoid having him on a team. Then it doesn't seem that outlandish anymore.
I mean, it's not it's outlandish just because it hurts my heart, and he's had a very good OHL
Okay, so
season.
it hurts your feelings. Okay, I got you.
But no, but like the top 6 is like it's Jimmy Snuggerud, who's a insanely good.
No,
It's
I'm not.
Will
I'm not. I'm
Smith,
not. I'm
it's
not even.
no, I know, but I want to put him out there so
Okay, yeah, sure.
people like understand who's out there. It's like James Higgins, who's going to be like a number 1 or 2 overall pick next year. Will Smith, it's Jimmy Snuggerud, Cutter Gauthier, Gabe Perreault, Ryan Leonard. That's
right. That
5.
line, the Smith line, right? Yeah.
The Smith line, Frank Nazar, who was a top 10 pick or top 12 pick, I think. Rucker McGroarty, Isaac Howard. It's
okay, so Musty's not breaking
really
it anyway. He's not like he not as a he's 18 still, right? He's not he's not breaking that anyway. Even if he was US NTDP, he wouldn't be in the top 6.
Probably not.
Okay.
And that's sad for me to say, but it's probably true. Okay. And he's younger than most of those guys who've been playing together. Okay. So I think that's the other thing is like they have Smith and Leonard and Perreault all playing together. Sure. They know each other. They're really good as a line. They have Isaac
those guys
Howard,
are better than Musty as prospects. I mean, right. I mean, we're being honest here.
Well,
maybe at least Leonard and Smith. Maybe not Perreault, but.
Perreault and Musty are probably. I mean, it depends on who you ask, because some people do love Perreault more,
right?
Even more than like Smith
obviously
and
we
Leonard.
know Smith and Leonard and Perreault work though, so yeah. So
yeah, they're all going to play as line probably. Yeah. And then you have like Cutter Gauthier, James Higgins, and whoever the hell else. Anyway, the point is that USA's forward group is stacked. So I understand why they didn't do it. It's just it makes me sad, and I think that's what they looked at.
Okay, so that's what we got.
It makes me sad, and I think it's dumb because he's doing really well, and you can always like.
But you got to build it if you construct a roster, right? Like you said it yourself, like if you're not picking the 12 guys with the most points, right?
Sure.
You're picking your top 6, maybe your top 9 is the guy with the most points, guys with the most points, but then you have your fourth line, and they got to play a role. And can Musty? Not that Musty couldn't fit into one of those roles, like it's not beyond his. It's not like it's beyond his capabilities, but if you don't think he can do that in that 2-3 week span as an 18-year-old, adjust his game, then why even bother? I'm playing devil's advocate, but just like the way it looked when people were first talking about it, I was like, oh my God, what a travesty.
No, it's not a travesty. Now, like it's not like a completely.
It's not like Quentin Musty missed making like, I don't know, Team Denmark or something like that.
No. There's just it's a lot of dudes that are really good.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it is kind of dumb that they did invite a couple dudes that I don't like. Kerry Terrence got invited from the OHL, and I watched Kerry Terrence, and he's doing fine this year. But he's not as good of a player as Quentin Musty.
Yeah, but can he fit a role though? Right? It's not about who is the best player.
I think he's gonna get sent home regardless. But
I
think he's gonna get sent home regardless, unless like. I'm missing something completely, but
also too, this Terrence kid, was he USN TDP or is he all OHL? So they obviously pick some OHL guys. So
they did. That's what I'm saying. But I think even from like if you compare the same league, essentially, Kerry Terrence is an OHL guy and Musty's an OHL guy. Musty's a better player, and Musty is also like. Not because like this year he's a little bit more physical than he was last year too. So I think he's developing into a game that could be in the bottom 6. I'm just talking myself in circles.
December, that happens December though. Who is going to help you win games in the specific role you have envisioned? And it's probably I guess they probably think Terrence can do that more than Musty. So
yeah, well, but I also think Terrence is probably going to go home. So.
Yeah, so he's not even gonna make it. Okay, so even okay then. So, but okay, so I'm
exposing my irrationality about Musty.
I just wasn't sure. Wasn't sure, because I'm not as familiar with prospects as you are. But like,
I think he's actually eligible.
It doesn't sound like he got jobbed or anything. So yeah, so
no, I mean. No, just like in our hearts a little bit.
Okay,
but he is eligible for next year, and I understand why they did it. I think this is again, we don't have a confirmation. That's why they did it. We'll never know. We can ask a bunch of people, but I think that's why they did it.
Okay.
I don't know. He also looks fine at the World Junior Summer Showcase. He was up and down, but he had like one game where he was like on fire. So I thought he would at least make with that and in combination with his OHL team, that he would make the preliminary before the cuts. And good on him, I guess, for sticking to their guns. And either way, Pohlkamp is an exciting one. I I like Pohlkamp. The defense for USA is a little thin. Z Booyam is going to be like their number one or their star with Seamus Casey. Yeah, but they've got a bunch of and Lane Hudson. But they've got a bunch of dudes after like those three. Minetian's pretty good. Pohlkamp's good. Renzel's good. So it'll be interesting to see if he actually makes the team because I think they're going to trim those down as well. They got 10 defenders, 16 forwards, so it's 29 total players for the roster.
Okay, quick prospects quiz for you. Rate the prospects. Casey, Hävelid, or Mukumadulin. And the reason why all these names are together is because Hävelid was picked right ahead of Casey in the draft, which is, I think, a statement in terms of they're both similar-ish type players. So the Sharks picked the one that they liked more. And a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, some people thought that the Sharks should have targeted Casey in the Meyer trade. And so rank these prospects in your opinion. So I'm just curious.
That's tough. Hävelid I would put actually at the bottom on that list, I think. And then between Casey and Mukumadulin, it's tough because Casey plays a different game and he's not the ideal size that Mukumadulin is.
Just NHL impact though. I'm not. Yeah, I mean NHL impact.
I'd probably give it to Mukumadulin, then Casey, then Hävelid. Because I mean Hävelid and Casey are like the same size, and Casey's ripping it up in the NCAA right now. He's like above a point a game, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So I'd probably put Mukumadulin, Casey, and then Hävelid. But it's tough. Anyway, moving on from Team USA after they did not invite Musty, which is sad.
After they did your man wrong, so
they really did. We have Team Sweden, which unsurprisingly involves Filip Bystedt and Mattias Hävelid. The Team Sweden roster, it looks like it's been the same for like 3 years, just because it looks very similar to like their U18 team from a few years ago and like their World Junior Championship team from last year. It's interesting that they're all together again. They're going to be one of the favorites of the tournament just because of how cohesive the group is. Pretty deep as well, and Bystedt's going to be a big part of that. He hasn't had the most amazing SHL season. He's taken a little bit of a step back offensively this year. So, but he's always played well at these international tournaments. So I suspect he's going to play very well. Hävelid looks fine, or has looked fine when I've watched him. And he as well has played well in these tournaments. So both are going to have huge roles for Team Sweden.
Okay.
No real things there other than we don't have a time machine, so Eklund can go back and play with them. Other than that, the biggest, I think, surprise for me, again, we don't have.
Can I ask you about Bystedt before we get over to your big surprise? JD did a story on San Jose Hockey Now recently, talking about some of the prospects and said that Bystedt's had a bit of an up and down year. Is it on the up again, or is it still a little bit?
He's putting up more points. Okay. I haven't been able to watch him in probably before Thanksgiving sometime. Okay. So I'm not entirely sure how he's been doing the past couple of weeks, but he did look okay. He was like, his offensive game just seemed like it went to smoke. Like he couldn't get anything done. Like he'd consistently like lose the handle and he'd I don't know, he just wasn't making anything simple for him in the offensive zone. So it seemed like he lost all of that kind of confidence in carrying the puck and was doing it very poorly in the beginning of the year. I think he ended up getting scratched one game or a sit down game. I think in October or November. But yeah, I haven't been able to watch him since then. Okay. But he has been putting up more points, so he's on the list to rewatch a game whenever I wake up enough to watch one in the morning. Because they play like somewhere between like 9 and 12. If you can catch them, like it's hard to get replay games of anything in the SHL. So anyway, but all that being said, not a real surprise for Team Sweden. Canada includes Jake Furlong and does not include Luca Cagnoni, which is really interesting. I could see why they did it.
Right.
But again, another guy that's like had a a really good beginning of his WHL season. Cagnoni was like 1.2 points a game, 1.3, 4, something like that as a defenseman. Looks great. I watched him a bunch of times. He's a smart player. He's calm as well. He's a very calm defender and a very good transition defender. He's not like one of these dudes. He has a lot of skill and he does that kind of like activation thing that you see from smaller defensemen, but he isn't the same. I don't know. Like sometimes when you watch like Lane Hudson, you're just like, that's never gonna work. And like we never know. Maybe Lane comes in and he's gonna be amazing, but Cagnoni doesn't put up points like that. Like he's just very good at reading the play in front of him and breaking the puck out and making very skillful passes in the offensive zone. Got an underrated shot as well. So I thought he'd get an invite just because he's looked good. He is small, so he's like 5'9", and I
my
think
question usually for things like that is, do they have a guy like him in the lineup ahead of him already? Because that you're not going to have a number of guys like that on your defense, but you might have one guy. So do they have already somebody ahead? Yeah, no, I'm saying they might have one kind of smallish power play focused. I guess maybe two, but for power play quarterbacks. But
they have a couple.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So it's not
Ty Nelson.
So
Ty Nelson's like Ty Nelson's a little bit more stocky.
Yeah.
But he is shorter. He's quick. He's got a great shot. He's a good power play producer. Videntin Matejchuk, who's also similar to Cagnoni, I'd say in that, but Matejchuk will play more rover style than Cagnoni will. But I don't know. There's just not a lot of like tons of offense here in their defense. So I thought maybe they would bring Cagnoni. But
it just sounds like you're hurt again.
I'm just hurt. I thought they did bite him. I like this. They included Michael Buchinger, who's fine. Jorian Donovan, who's fine. Oliver Bonk, who's fine.
You just seem mad at that he didn't get a free trip to wherever they're going. So.
Yeah, Jake Furlong, who is fine.
But like, I like different styles, all right. Like it's like
they are.
Like,
they're more.
Like,
they're more that like
a Bonk and a Cagnoni, right? Just the
you can't.
terms of, right? Yeah,
you can't. Really I mean, they're more of a two-way defenders all the way through, and then they included a few skill guys like Matejchuk and Nelson and stuff like that. But I thought maybe he'd get an invite, but it is what it is. I think Musty's a bigger one, even though we've already talked ourselves out of why Musty didn't get an invite. But,
I didn't talk you out of it. You talked yourself out of it. I just gave you the.
I'm really happy.
I gave you the light to light your path, all right, to reason.
I'm really happy for Jake. I think we talked about Furlong probably at the beginning of the podcast, like when we started the podcast series. But
yeah,
he's had a good season. He is steady. He does a little bit of like puck moving. He's got a good first pass. He seems like he's getting it together to have an NHL career, or at least a chance at an NHL career.
Does he make this team?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they sent him home, but who knows? Maybe he'll score the game-winning goal, and I'll be wrong. But no, I am happy that they invited him, and I honestly, it's kind of dependent on who's playing well when they're all together, and it's going to be a little bit of a wait and see.
It's impressive though that he even made the selection, because they had guys like Cagnoni or other guys that they could have picked, right? So
and also it's not that huge of a for both Cagnoni and for Musty, just for people who aren't aware, it's not that huge of an insult because they do have another year. So like it's actually kind of uncommon for guys like them to make the team. They have to be exceptionally good. So it's not that big of it. I'm just
okay. So my timeline was just filled with just a bunch of hurt Sharks fans last week because I wasn't sure. I looked at that and I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know. So
I do think Musty is probably one of, like, if you're going on pure like talent, he's one of USA's top 12 forwards, I would say. But
we're not.
Well, we're not.
And that's
we're going on what wins you a tournament.
It's not how teams are constructed. So.
it's what wins you a tournament. I mean, so
if we look at the Sharks right now, right? If we got one on pure talent, then I mean, Gushin would be up, Bordelot would be up, and we have the team that everybody would want. But then that team would lose 10-4.
Yeah, and you're trying to win a tournament, and it's tough to say exactly what caused them to do it, but And I don't want to rub the picture that Musty is some kind of like floater or has no defensive responsibility or like can't play physical. He's not. He's like a pretty good or becoming a pretty good 200-foot player. It's just yeah, I don't think he was right for the bottom 6. So
right, for 2 weeks you need a guy that you can just fit in there, and
yeah,
not a guy who was learning to do it. By the time Musty gets in NHL, he may be able to adjust his game and play different sorts of roles, but maybe not right now, right? So
they also have a ton of playmakers, and Musty at his core is a playmaking winger. So they have a ton of those kind of guys. Not as big as Musty. Like Musty's a big playmaking winger, which is kind of rarity, but yeah, they have got a lot of those guys. So anyway, happy for Jake, happy for Eric Pohlkamp and Will Smith, and probably Haltonen, and then Bystedt and Hävelid. It's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of coverage. I'm going to try and put out some maybe articles related to it. That would be.
Oh, actually, one guy we didn't talk about that's had a good season, and then I just wondered is Lund. And I know he didn't have a great tournament summer showcase, right? But but is he one of those guys too that he's not going to fit your bottom 6, and he's not skilled enough to be in your top 6 on this team?
I think so. I think it's probably very much along those lines. And yeah, like his World Junior Summer Showcase was very bad. So I think they win a lot of that. Even though he's had I've watched a few games of him in Northeastern. He's actually looked really good. But I think it's a little bit of that. They have a few guys that do his job already, and he wasn't going to fit the bottom 6. So
they should form a wild card team of the guys that got passed over from different countries, and you have Lund and Musty on it. It'd be like
Cagnoni.
Yeah. It'd be like the in the World Cup, the Team North America. We call it something else because it wouldn't just be North America. Just all the guys that just missed the cut on Sweden, some of the deeper rosters out there, Canada and the US, and see how they would fare.
And I'm pretty sure this is Lund's last year of eligibility, I believe, for this. So it is a bigger snub for him too. Although I have to check exactly when the eligibility date is, because he's turning 20 in June of next year. But I'll have to look and see. But I think this is his last year to maybe get in. So it is a little bit bigger of a snub for him to not come. Anyway, that's the quick prospect update and
a quick look into Keegan's feels.
My feels. My I don't know. I really liked Musty's game, and I was really excited for him to play in this tournament, or at least be on the preliminary to see if he's going to play.
Yeah.
And then to just find out that nothing, I was a little sad, but I understand why they did it. Yeah. All right, guys. Stick around for the interview. And then we will see you next week.
Yep. See you soon, guys.
All right. Bye.
All right, guys. We have Luke Kunin here joining the podcast right here. Thank you very much, Luke, for joining us. First, I want to say happy birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
What did you do for your birthday?
We had a few nights in New York, so just we were in Long Island there. Just took it easy. Went to dinner with Mar and Benny, and got some rest. That's about it.
Very good, very good. Where did you guys go eat?
Bruno's, I believe it was called.
Italian, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay. Because of Mario.
I think it was just one of the only spots we found, so it was good.
All right, sounds good. Well, actually, I was going to ask you about Matt Benning. You guys have a long-standing friendship. You guys do everything together. You guys do Halloween together, Halloween costumes together. You guys do fantasy football. And so, anyway, just how did that friendship develop? Obviously, you guys knew each other in Nashville.
Yeah, just met in Nashville. Obviously, both came here the same year. One of my really good buddies, obviously, great player, great teammate, really good person and family. So just kind of hit it off. And, yeah, I guess we do a lot of things together.
Yeah, the epic Halloween costume. Though I gotta say though, and I've talked with Matt about it, that his costume was epic. Your donkey costume was, he said, cobbled together last minute. So.
Yeah. No, my original costume, I guess, didn't come in, so there was a little bit of a scramble, but we made it work.
Yeah, because you were supposed to be the Shrek donkey with the big teeth and all that stuff, right? And looked more, a little more like Eeyore, a little more.
Yeah, it was last minute. Found one there in San Jose, but I guess you got the gist of it.
Yep. What was the original costume? Was it supposed to be the actual Shrek donkey?
Yeah, it was more of the real one. So,
oh, okay. What happened to it?
just never showed up on Amazon, I guess. So yeah, it all worked out.
All right. And also fantasy football. And so we talked about this before. What is your team name again? You told me, but I forgot.
Scoops.
Scoops. Okay.
Yeah, Benny's always got the scoops.
Okay.
You know what's going on with the players, what's going on around the league. So that's how we got the name.
Are you giving Matt credit as he's the true architect, the GM, the brains of the team?
Yeah, I think he knows a little bit more than I do.
Okay,
but,
that's nice of you.
You know, we're good for each other.
Yeah. Well, what do you do for the team then?
Just bring some good energy, I guess.
Okay.
Good locker room guy. I don't know. It's we have fun with it. We've done it for a few years now, so it's good.
Yeah. From what I've heard during lunch, you guys are kind of talking about it a lot, right? You and
yeah, we're always
big one shot, big guy.
Figure out who to put in, who to take out. Yeah, like I said, it's all in good fun. And, it's good to have that with the guys.
Well, you're a week away from the playoffs. Are you guys in?
As of now.
So it may not be the case then.
We should be. We should
be.
Rough couple of weeks.
Rough couple of weeks. Okay. Who else is in the league this year? Because last year, actually, I know Aiden Hill's still in it. He was in it last year. How about Jumbo? Is he still in it? I'm sure Logan is in it.
Logan's in there. Hertl. So there's a good one.
Yeah. Who's kind of doing the best in the league so far?
I think
sort of the favorite.
I think Joel Ward's #1.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think he's running away with the regular season.
Oh yeah, just regular season, right?
Yeah.
And who has the worst team? Who auto drafted this team?
I don't know who. I don't look that far down, but
yeah. Well, now you say don't look that far down.
Yeah,
you brag like then you got to tell me who the worst team is.
No, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus.
Okay. Well, that's going to be my job, guys, as a journalist. Scoops. I'm gonna get the scoop on that. Okay, who has the most embarrassing team? So, speaking of the locker room, what is your responsibility for SkeeYee? Because you were put into it. Mario said that it was you, Duke, and Duke and Luke. So.
Yeah, I don't know. We thought it was from Hard Knocks. I think. It's the first time we saw it. We thought it was good. It's pretty split in the room, so
it's very split in the room.
Kind of change it up. I like all kinds of music, so I don't really care as long as we're winning games and hearing a song afterwards. I'm happy.
So you don't take responsibility for that song. And you said change it up. So did you guys change it?
We had a couple songs that just I guess go one after the other, and I think we just put some of those in front of that one.
Did you really? Oh, I'm a big SkeeYee fan. I actually didn't know that song, and I learned it, and I actually like it. I'm not even pretending to be like hip. It just I liked it.
Yeah.
But the locker room was it pushed SkeeYee out.
I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I understand the second win song was Tommy picked it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Freedom from Desire, I think it's called. It's just kind of a 90s Eurodance song. You know the third song?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I like Tommy's song.
Okay, you like Tommy's song? Has that become #1?
I'm not sure.
Well, yesterday, did you guys play SkeeYee?
Yeah, no. I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, I wasn't out there. So
Right.
But like I said, as long as we're hearing songs after games, that's always good.
All right, well, so that's the second job for me, guys, as a hardcore journalist, to find out what happened to the mystery of SkeeYee. Actually, I was curious about this. This is from last year that I was wondering about. Pablo was complaining about the win song last year too, and so he's a locker room malcontent with the win song. He always has been. He's never been happy with it. And I heard that Nick Bonino played some Italian song after a game. I don't know. Did they do that?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
But
like a That's a More or something like that.
It's always fun.
Okay. But your musical taste is anything?
Yeah, I like it all. Mostly country though. That's my go-to.
Okay.
So I'd play a country song if it was up to me, but it's not.
Guys, I did ask. So SkeeYee, Sexy Red, the rapper, she's from St. Louis. Luke is from Missouri. So I asked Luke about it earlier. He said that I had nothing to do with it. So again, Luke is disavowing all knowledge of SkeeYee. So. So just a couple of hockey questions to kind of finish off here. So just how much does it suck for you that you're starting to score there? You start off the season a little bit slow in terms of the goal scoring, and then you four in your last 9, and then you get hurt.
Yeah, I mean it sucks. Obviously, it's part of the game, but you just gotta heal and just get back at it. So obviously it's unfortunate, but it's one of those things as an athlete you go through and just work to get better and get out there and home together.
I gotta ask you, so when you're going through a slump like that, I mean, me on the media side, reading a lot of criticism, fans are saying a lot of things, right? You pay attention to that at all, or you as an athlete, you cannot pay attention to that stuff? It's just gonna eat you up.
Yeah, I just focus on what I can do. I know what I'm doing, the work I'm putting in, and all the things that we're doing in that locker room. So that's what I'm focused on.
It did seem in the that stretch when the first 14 games, I think you had 1 goal, that you're getting a lot of chances. And so is that kind of what your focus is more? That look, I'm doing the things to get into position, and they're going to start to go away. Is that sort of your mindset, your focus?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, you want to score, you want to produce. I think I obviously bring other things to the table that help our team have success. So, yeah, I mean, I think you just want to keep getting your lifts, and you obviously want to go in, but just keep doing the right things. I think more times than not that we'll start.
And you're obviously injured right now. You feel pretty good about coming back soon. How's that coming along?
Yeah, it's coming along. No exact timeline, but we're putting in the work and doing all the right things. So hopefully it's sooner than later.
And I also want to congratulate your wife Sophia, just signed with Minnesota PWHL. Just a reaction to that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome for her. Happy for her. She obviously playing for her hometown team first year of the league and everything. So it's a lot of exciting times for them in the league, and hopefully it's a great season for them.
Are you guys the only? I was trying to figure this out. Are you guys the only married NHL PWHL couple? As far as you know?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, then, as far as you know, then yes, right?
Maybe,
you don't know another.
I guess maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, who knows?
Well, how does it feel to be the NHL PWHL power couple? You guys are the power couple.
I don't know about power couple.
No.
But yeah, just she's obviously very passionate and works really hard. So it's cool to see that she's playing, and like I said, playing for Minnesota and first year league. It's exciting.
I mean, I see a reality show here. Keeping up with the Kunins?
No, not a chance.
Not a chance? No?
Absolutely
not you. What about Sophia? She had a personality or no?
No.
So both of you, no?
No.
Okay. Well, there was my chance to be the exec producer. That was going to be my way out of this job, Luke. All right. I wanted to end finally. I wanted to talk about the Luke Kunin T1D fund. And Luke, you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when you were 12 years old. And when you were diagnosed at the time, I mean, I imagine you had thoughts maybe your hockey career that was maybe the end of it. It's a very serious thing. This form of diabetes that impacts fewer than 2 million people. So that's a tough one. But anyway, you had an NHL role model that called you a couple days into that diagnosis. So you just can't talk about how that came about to have an NHLer who was playing through type 1 diabetes reach out to you.
Yeah, so obviously really close with Keith Tkachuk and the Tkachuk family, and he was playing, for the Blues in St. Louis there at the time I was diagnosed, and DJ Crown, being a player on the team at the time, had type 1 diabetes, so to have him reach out to me and call me and just kind of, for me wanting to play in the NHL, that being the dream, the goal, and having someone call me who has gone through it and is dealing with it, I think was really all I needed to see and hear, and the rest was kind of history. Once I heard that, I think that was a really big piece in the process for me. A really big reason why I kind of do what I do now at the foundation, talking to kids, and wanting to help kids and families any way I can, just to let them know that you can still do everything you want to do. And, so very appreciative of him making that call for sure.
And you still keep in touch with DJ?
No, I actually haven't really talked to him since then.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, I don't know if he realizes how much of an impact he had, but I'll always remember that.
And do you know the Kachucks just through growing up in Missouri? Or?
Yeah.
Hockey.
Yeah, Matthew Brady. Matthew's my best friend. Obviously, played with him. You know, growing up all the years in St. Louis. You know, having Big Walt there as like a second dad to me, always coaching us, always being there, helping us, you know, get to the level we are now is pretty special. And yeah, just very close family friends for, you know, a number of years.
Can I ask you one Kachuk question? Who's the most annoying Kachuk to play against, Brady or Matt? On the ice. I know you love them off the ice.
They're all tough to play against. I think, you know, that's obviously why they're so good. But yeah, two of the, you know, best players in the league, and you know, for a reason they work extremely hard and, you know, very good for their teams and helping them win.
But yeah, so the main reason why Luke is on here is that the Sharks and Luke have just come out with the Luke Kunin T1D Fun merchandise collection. It's a cool collection of caps, shirts, and what else you got? Sweatshirts.
Yeah, hats, sweatshirts, shirts, scarves, pucks. You know, pretty special to have stuff like that. You know, people can get. You know, have half the proceeds go to the foundation. Very nice of obviously the Sharks Foundation and the Sharks to do that. And, it's pretty cool.
You go to sharksproshop.com to purchase. Anywhere else that they can buy it?
I think that's where it's at right now.
Okay. And Luke is going to get some of that gear to his teammates, so maybe you'll start seeing it on NBC interviews or on a podcast coming soon. So, anyway, Luke, I want to thank you so much for your time. Good luck with the collection. And just great work that you do. I noticed, you know, day one that you came in here, that you always had the special. You have the kids that come after the game to talk with you, right? The kids of the T1D. When are you having that this year, anyway?
Yeah, no, I have all the home games. You know, the kids and their families come down, so I chat with them after. So it's been going great. And
is it every home game?
I'd say most, yeah.
Oh wow, okay. I actually didn't realize. I thought it was like just one night.
No, okay. So it's pretty often. So yeah, it's been going really well.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good luck for us this season.
Thank you.